CSGO or Valorant today, and you spend $1,000, and the game makers ban you from the game, what happens then? In most cases, the players lose everything, right? They can't play the game, they can't access any of the items they've spent money on. So that is another huge problem that makes the current system unfair. Thirdly, when a game developer tells gamers that this is a limited edition item, only a few of you can own this, or this is high value, is there a way to verify this? No, right? They can tell you that they're selling 100 of these, but they could end up selling 150 of these. You never know. There is no way to find out. And finally, the most important question when you purchase a digital asset, do you actually own your asset? And the answer is, in the current system, you don't. It is just you taking assets on a rental basis or on a license from a game developer without actually having any ownership over it. NFTs change this, right? So what is an NFT? An NFT is a non-fungible token. You can think of it as a receipt for ownership of a digital asset, right? Why are NFTs huge for games? Firstly, true digital ownership. When I buy a gun for a game as an NFT, if I want to stop playing the game tomorrow, I can sell that gun to another player on an open marketplace. I can get the money I put into the game back. If a game bans me, I still own the assets on the blockchain. No one can take that away from me, and I can still exit from the game by selling those assets to someone else. So NFTs are a game changer for digital assets within games. Secondly, provable fairness. If a game tells you that this skin is limited edition, there's only going to be 100 of these, then you can actually check that on the blockchain, because the blockchain is open source. You can go to the blockchain, you can check how many assets did they issue, and if they issue more than that, then you can be like, guys, what the hell? You promised us 100 assets and you're releasing more. So games can't cheat gamers. Thirdly, interoperable economies. Now this is a very interesting concept. You can basically use NFTs from one game in another game. What this means is that tomorrow, hypothetically, if CSGO and Valorant get into a partnership where you can use CSGO skins or CSGO guns in Valorant, how cool would that be? And from the tech side of it, it's very easy to implement. Valorant can just accept all CSGO NFTs. So NFTs enable interoperable economies within games. And finally, there's a value transfer to players. So what I mean by this is, in the current system, it's a one-way relationship between games and game makers. Between players and game makers. It's the players who put in money into a game and the game makers who keep all of it, right? But now with NFTs and with tokens in games, a lot of the value goes back to players. So players actually get rewarded for putting in time, effort and money into a game. Now, NFTs are a huge part of games, but there's another really important component in blockchains, which are tokens, your ERC20 tokens. Can they also play a role within games? So if you guys have played games, most games have an in-game token or in-game money, right? So GTA has money, Clash of Clans has gold and other coins. For a lot of blockchain games, these tokens and this money is actual cryptocurrency. Now this has huge implications. What this means is, if you do well in a game, you can actually earn some of this money, withdraw it to an exchange and convert it into fiat. So players can essentially earn money just for playing games and putting in effort to play games. And this is, a lot of you must have heard this, but this is called play to earn. And this is what Axie Infinity made really famous last year. So Axie Infinity is a very simple game where each player owns three Axies. So 3 Axies compete against each other. And this game got super popular last year, okay? In August of 2021, it got very, very popular. So a player had to own 3 Axie NFTs. Now, the problem was that each of these NFTs cost $500. But what this enabled was the ability for players to earn up to $400 per month. So this is huge money for a lot of people in countries like India and even Southeast Asia. $400 a month is much higher than the average income these people generate. But the problem here was that they couldn't afford the upfront cost. They couldn't afford buying 3 NFTs worth $500 each just to play a game, which is where the world's first guild came in. So the guild is called Yield Guild Games by GG. They started in the Philippines, and the founder, Gabby Dizon, he had a brilliant idea. He's like, I can afford all of these NFTs, but I don't have the time to play all of these games, so I'm going to start lending my NFTs out to other players. What do I get in return? I keep a percentage of all the earnings they make. So this was a groundbreaking idea. It actually started a whole industry that I am a part of right now. But Axie Infinity and Yield Guild Games by GG together took the whole crypto world by storm. In August of last year, they became hugely popular. YGG then had their IEO, again massively popular. And then, since YGG was based out of the Philippines, but the demand for their for this unique model of scholarships came from all over the world, they started launching sub-DAOs all across the world. What this means is that YGG started working with regional partners all across the world to set up entities to meet local player demand. And IndieGG, where I work, is one of those sub-DAOs. Now I'll get into what we do in a little bit more detail later. But firstly, what is a guild? In Web 2, a guild is a group of gamers who form a team to support each other and compete together in video games. So just a bunch of players chilling out, having fun, playing together. In Web 3, guilds play the same role, wherein it's a community of gamers playing crypto games, but it is also a community where opportunities are provided for players to earn money from these games. Opportunities in the form of lending these players NFTs, also called as scholarships, or providing other opportunities to players to play games. So IndieGG is India's largest Web3 gaming guild. We're a sub-DAO of YGG, and we also work very closely with the Polygon team. For gamers, we work to help people across India discover their passion for games and unlock their earning potential by guiding them to opportunities within the Web3 gaming ecosystem. For games, India has massive untapped potential. We open up access for games to local gaming communities and local gaming influencers. As of now, we have 100,000 people across our social media channels, and we have an offline reach of 2 million gamers across the country. Now, why is what we're doing such a big deal, right? So for those of you who don't know about this, gaming is massive in India. India currently has 450 million gamers. Just imagine how big that number is. That is more than the population of every country apart from India and China. This industry is growing at a rate of 30% per year. By 2025, India is expected to have 700 million gamers and 234 million paying gamers. So 234 million Indians will start paying money to games just to play games. So 450 million gamers with a low income per capita. The average income per capita for India is rupees 7,500 rupees per month. Now given an opportunity to earn some money playing games. That's the market we're targeting. That's what we're working towards. And that is why we're so excited about what we're doing. These are some of the games we work with. Work with different kinds of games, building on Polygon, building on other blockchains. Work with a lot of infra players, other guilds. So the guilds you see here are all part of YGG's family and YGG's guilds in other countries across the world. And finally, ecosystem partners. We work closely with Polygon, FTX, Tezos, and anyone else who wants to make a difference for a lot of lives in India. Just going to quickly run through my journey getting here before I take questions from you guys. So, I didn't know what to do in life, so I did computer science engineering. After that, I still didn't know what to do in life, so I did an MBA. And during my MBA, I interned at a 130-year-old corporate company. I'm not going to name it, but yeah, there are not a lot of options here. But I absolutely hated what I was doing. Right, and this was, the MBA is a 2-year course, and this was at the end of 1 year. And I did this internship, I realized that, okay, this is not what I wanted at all. So basically, I had a year to figure out what I wanted. And then I read this piece, the aha moment, as I call it, which was called Own the Internet, in this blog called Not Boring, which I recommend everyone should follow. It's one of the best Web3 blogs out there. But Packy McCormick basically talked about how Ethereum is money for the internet, and how by owning Ethereum you own a piece of the internet, and that really made sense to me. It struck a chord with me, and that is when I decided that okay, for the next 5 years or for the next 10 years of my career, crypto is where I want to be. And I started looking for opportunities. And my entry to crypto was working with a guild which is much smaller than what IndieGG currently is. So this guild had less than 100 players, and I basically did whatever I was asked to. But then my lucky break was when this guild got acquired by IndieGG, and I came on board at IndieGG. Now I started IndieGG as an intern in Jan this year, which was my first job ever. And within 3 months, I maybe did something right, but I got into the role I am today, which is leading partnerships for IndieGG. So I don't think this opportunity is possible in any field apart from crypto. I don't think anyone is going to make someone in the first job, 3 months into the first job, lead a division within a company. And this is what I love about crypto, right? It's a meritocracy. No one cares about your background. No one cares whether you went to college or not. No one cares if you're from a tier 3 college or the Harvards of the world. We have members in our team who haven't even gone to college, and they are few of the best contributors. So, love being in Web3, love working at IndieGG. We are hiring, so in case any of you want to be a part of our journey, more than happy to have a conversation with you, hiring across all domains, across all seniorities. But yes, that's it from me. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Hello, so I actually have 2 questions. So the first question is that, as you said that it would be fun if I have my CSGO skins into Valorant, right? And it would be fun. But what I think is that it won't be fun for me to have a dragon lore which I would flex on CSGO, and suddenly then I will have it as well as in Valorant. So I think I disagree at this point, because it actually denies the rarity of the skin. So what is your take on it?
Got it. So firstly, I use CSGO and Valorant as an example, right? Now, these interoperable features, they have to be very carefully designed. So the point here is that blockchain enables this use case if games choose to do it, right? So I'll give you an example. There's a game called Crypto Unicorns, okay? And it's a unicorn game. Unicorn farming game similar to Farmville, right? Where you create your own farm and your unicorn does different things on that farm. Now they'll soon be working with this game called Metastar, which is a football game. And they're going to let people who own those crypto unicorns actually play football within that game, right? So now the point here is that the NFTs here, when people spend money on these NFTs, they are able to play firstly a farming game, but they're also able to play a football game with the same assets without spending extra money. So that is the point of interoperability of assets. Now coming to what you mentioned, which is the lore being different or the scarcity not being honored in some ways, that is where game design comes in, right? So if tomorrow CSGO and Valorant collaboratively release a new set of skins that they say from the start that you can use these in both games, wouldn't that be cool? Right? Wouldn't it be cool to use the same gun you use in CSGO, in Valorant, as your own identity, as your own recognition that this is my gun? So that's where interoperability comes in.
But yeah, it would be good, but now I will not buy any more assets. I will not put my money more into it, because I already can use the same skin in multiple games, right? So don't you think it's a boon for a company or a couple of games?
Yes. I mean, it depends on how you design it. So if they limit this to 100 skins, and they make it really expensive, and they share the revenue, wouldn't it be great for both of them? And they limit it only to those 100 skins. So the question here is, it is possible if games want to do it and if they design it well. Not everyone will do that, but it is a possibility, only enabled by blockchain technology.
Yeah, the second question.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, so the question is that in India we have observed that through PUBG Mobile, we have seen that in many families, some children are actually misusing the money of their father's income, and due to that, many criminal activities have been doing. Like someone actually did very heinous activities just for a game, and you are bringing a whole new platform which is all play to earn games, and you actually want it to get at a higher level in India, right? So won't this be a problem in the social way?
Good. So I don't want to get into exactly what happened in that incident because there's still a lack of clarity whether PUBG was the reason behind the incident. If you're referring to the recent incident, that is, there is a lack of clarity there. But in general, what you're mentioning right now is not specific to crypto games, right? That may be a problem across all types of games. And in most cases, games have known to have had a positive effect on the IQ and the what do you call it? On the IQ and the ability of people to socialize, right? There are good games and there are bad games. There are games that are designed well, there are games that are designed worse. What crypto brings in is an underlying technology, a new method for the same games to exist. So tomorrow, PUBG might transition to blockchain, right? Blockchain doesn't change how a game is designed or what the mechanics of a game are. Those remain the same. Blockchain just makes it fairer for players. So yeah, I mean, what you refer to is just something that games have to deal with in general and is not specific to blockchain games.
But when money is involved in games now, then it is taking a different direction. I'm just referring to that. Games in general which doesn't involve money are fun and playful. But when it involves money and 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds don't understand, so that is my problem.
Got it. So I don't think there is any game till date that doesn't involve money. What differs is at what stage money is involved in.
Yeah, that's
right. So for traditional games, money was involved at the start, where players used to buy a CD or download a game for one-time use and play it for 15 or 20 hours. That monetization model changed and games became free to play where players were urged to spend money within games, right? So money is always going to be a part of games, one way or the other, because how do game developers get paid otherwise? So yeah, you can't separate games, especially from money.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so before we move ahead with the question, I would ask you all to ask just one question. Just making sure that we respect other people to give equal chance in asking a question. Okay, so just one question, each and everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, so my question is fairly simple. Like, people strongly believe that gaming is the new social media and that enabling players to cash out their time is pretty cool. But still, many a times it happens that if we take case of Axie Infinity, I asked this question today in morning as well. There's a spike, but then it cools down eventually. Then again, after 3 or 6 months, again it rises and then it cools down. So like, what's your view on that, and how can we maintain at least a linear trend in that?
Got it. So firstly, why I use the example of Axie was because Axie is what brought this space to the limelight. Axie is still the best example to use of what a crypto game at its very core is. Now the problem with Axie is that it's not fun to play. People were only playing Axie because they could earn money out of it. But the biggest studios in the world, the ones who create the best games, the most fun to play games, are going to start create blockchain games. And when a game is fun to play, people don't play it only for the money, but people play it because they're having fun playing it, and if they get some money playing it, then it's good. So the answer to your question is we'll see more sustainable economies when games are designed better, learning from the lessons from games like Axie, and when games are better in themselves, when games are more fun to play. And there's a lot of work going on there, and there are a lot of innovative models coming up.
Next question.
Could you elaborate on what happens on a day-to-day basis in a gaming guild, as you mentioned?
Got it. So across a gaming guild, there are different things. I'll firstly start with what I do on a day-to-day basis, right? So I lead partnerships. So it's my job to talk to different games across the industry and figure out how we can work with them. Firstly, understanding whether they're a good fit for our community within India, as in whether Indians would like playing the game. And secondly, then figuring out whether it makes sense from a business point of view to work with a particular game. So that's how I spend my days. in general, the goal of the guild overall is to educate people, educate Indian gamers about blockchain gaming. And we do this via multiple activities. We do this via going to colleges or gaming cafes, partnering with the biggest gaming streamers, working with apps like Router, which has huge reach, doing sessions on Discord or doing Twitter Spaces and things like that. That is the goal all of our activities are aligned towards, which is how do we get the most number of Indians onto crypto gaming as possible. And what happens in every division is very specific to that, so happy to dive deep into that if you're interested in a particular division. Yes.
So since you mentioned a lot of your time is partnering with the right games, can you list down certain things that you keep in mind while partnering? Like for example, the number of users, or what are the metrics that you track? Or maybe how do you analyze the game theory behind the game? Can you just shine some light on those pointers?
Of course, that's a great question. Firstly, we don't track users because most of the games we partner with, the partnership happens much before the game is out, right? So users is something we would love to know how popular a game is, but we can't before a game is released. What the best we can do is make educated guesses, right? So now what you asked me is what our thesis is towards game investments. What do we look for in games? And to be very honest, that changes every single day, right? And why that changes is because there are so many experiments in the space, and those experiments keep failing, and we learn from them, right? But as of today, what we are looking for firstly is a fun game. Like, the game has to be fun to play, even if it didn't involve Web3 or earning or anything of that sort, the game still should be fun to play. Secondly, there are certain parameters by which we gauge whether an economy is sustainable or not. Without diving into the technical details too much, every token within the game, which will be encashed eventually, needs sustainable sinks. As in, if a token is being generated from somewhere within the game that players use to earn money, let's say players earn money by winning, players earn a token by winning games. There should also be places within the game where players are able to spend that money. Otherwise, there's inflation within the economy and the token price goes down, which is exactly what happened with Axie. So we look at the economic sustainability of a game. We also look at how good the team is building games. We prefer working with teams that have built games in Web 2, right? Because it's much easier adopting blockchain technology by a gaming team than a blockchain team trying to get gaming expertise. Yeah, these are three things I'd say we look at.
So I had a question related to gamers. I think in many Web3 games, it is gated by NFTs, and so only a limited number of gamers are able to play at a particular point of time. Is there any way where you select particular gamers over others, or what does the process look like from the gamer perspective?
Got it. So the first part of your question, yes, the first generation of Web3 games was gated by NFTs, but that is something we're seeing change completely. So most of the new games coming out, the actual fun games to play, those are free to play, right? And where NFTs come in is if a player wants to start earning from the game, or the NFTs unlock certain premium features within the game. So how you can think of this is when you see free-to-play mobile games, you can always play the game for free. But to get to a certain level or to make progress within the game, you have to spend money in in-app purchases. That monetization is going to shift to NFTs. Right? So it's just a new monetization model for games. But yes, you're right, a game can't be scaled if it is restricted by NFTs. And every game wants users. Secondly, how do we decide who to give NFTs to, if that is where you were coming from? What we are trying to build or work with a company that does this is a reputation system. So what we want is we want to know who the best gamers are within particular game genres, and then give the best NFTs to them so that they make money, we make money, everyone does well. So yeah, I mean, but that's a problem we're yet to solve fully.
So like, what's the role of indie GG in like giving games? Like, people can directly go and play the games, right? So like, what's the role of indie GG?
Firstly, to make money in games, in most cases, you still need NFTs. So when I say games are free to play, you'll be able to play the game, but you won't really be able to make money, right? So you still need NFTs in most games to make money, and these NFTs are still expensive. Typical current prices are $50 to $100. Now Indians can't afford that much money, most Indian gamers. So IndieGG still provides gamers with those NFTs. That's what we do. Apart from that, we also do a lot of education. We're also doing a lot of esports. Esports is something we're betting heavily towards. So what we'll start doing is tournaments for these Web3 games, specific only to Web3 games, where the intention is to educate players about why Web3 is good, why they should maybe think about spending money in an NFT rather than spending money in in-app purchases in a Web2 game, and things like that. So I think that is the role a guild plays, just onboarding as many players to Web3 as possible, whether that be via giving them NFTs or via doing tournaments or educational events.
Just a small question. Does IndieGG then earn from the games or via the players?
So the most crude, the most primitive business model is IndieGG keeping a share of the players' earnings, right? But over time, we don't know how we'll make money. What we do know is that Web3 is going to be huge for gaming, and if we get in early and create a player base, then there'll be multiple monetization opportunities in the future.
Folks, we have time for one last question.
So my question is around like the NFT as an asset or something ownable sounds cool, but the premise of IndieGG is I think mostly based on the play to earn model because it's actually lending the game and lending the NFT and getting a share. So my question is the sustainability of play to earn model, and I suppose it is supposed to be a zero sum game. Tell me if I'm wrong. So it's essentially like it seems unsustainable at first. So what's your view on that?
As I just mentioned, the first generation of Web3 games were unsustainable. And that stems from the game not being fun. So players wouldn't play that game if they weren't earning money from it, right? But now we're seeing really good games come in. And what we expect here is that, so within any free-to-play game, there are three levels of players, the three buckets of players. There are whales who spend a lot of money within the game. There are dolphins who spend a moderate amount of money within the game. And then there are free-to-play players who don't spend anything. How the monetization would change, we envision, is that these whales would continue spending money in the game without an expectation of earning because they've been already doing that, right? And instead of all of this money going to developers, this gets transferred to players who are playing the money maybe to playing the game maybe to earn some money. So there are different ways games are achieving sustainability. There are a few games that are not doing tokens at all, so they don't promise play to earn via tokens, but they reward you in NFTs. Right? And there are multiple different models. One of my favorites is this game called Skyweaver, and we also did a research piece on them, so you might want to go through that. But at its core, if a game is fun, really fun, if a game as big as PUBG tomorrow integrates blockchain, then we think it will work and it will be sustainable because people will play the game irrespective of earnings. Anything else, guys?